Oh, we're at Lama Tzong Khapa Institute in Italy with our Venerable Lama Yeshe just after His Holiness the Dalai Lama has left. And we would like to continue to ask Lama some questions about the development of the centers throughout the world, and perhaps some advice on how Lama feels about the development and the future direction of the centers. Huh? Lama, how did the very first center outside of Nepal develop? How did it begin?
First of all, many years ago, that many students come to search something for their certification in India and Nepal. And then many students sort of asking me to come instead of they have to come all the way. You know, better you have to come to West. And first beginning, I'm a little bit shaking. Yeah, uneasy. You know, such simple monk in the going to, you know, super samsaric world. But I accepted, you know, their invitation. And it was 1974, and then I went to America and gave several lectures. Then after that, I went to Australia, at Queensland, and I give 1 month course there. And that is the sort of cooperative course. And students decided, you know, they should have, you know, the center to facilitate the Buddha Dharma teaching. And their, you know, dedication, their is very strong. And I say, okay, if you want, that is your baby, you're welcome. And also they donated land, about 160 acres by the, you know, Dr. Ney and Yeshe Come and Tom and Kathy.
So it was only 4 people who were mainly responsible for the first center beginning, or was it a larger group?
Well, large group expresses, but particularly, you know, and these are the people actively involving and completely dedicated, and they're giving their life and their body, speech, mind for developing this center. I thought, I mean,
by that time, had most of the students in Australia already been to Nepal?
Yeah, many are, yes, that time too, yes. Then it is just empty place, you know, and then they built, meditation kompa and residential guest room and student apartment, you know, and that way, sort of naturally, it developed up to now.
Now that was the very first center that actually developed practically. Did you, for the other centers that came afterwards, follow the example of that as an experience to draw from?
I think so. Somehow, it is natural, you know. Each time I went deep in the country, and there are already collectively students, previous, you know, Nepal, and they say they, you know, sort of, you know, no question, they express it, they like to be somehow group gathering and putting energy. I personally, it is very reasonable. I thought they are very sincerity, you know, And in Western world, under such a orientation of heavy samsara, you know, students went back, they lost their head, you know. You know what I mean? You know, I understand. I completely understand Western, you know, environment is so, you know, exploited, you know, superstition, pollution of the mind. And I can understand the baby of their understanding, taking refuge, understanding lumbering is so baby, so they disappear sometimes, you know. And I thought it is something essential, what they're asking, their life to be grumbly involving and to carry continuously they are practicing. I thought it's so natural. And so I let go, you know, I let go. I didn't say I don't want a center, you know. I just told them, center is your baby, you know, what I can do is blah, 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 you know, then say goodbye.
So you thought one of the main reasons for the centers in the West was to continue the practice of the Dharma
Exactly.
in a good environment.
Exactly, yes.
Because what reason?
Because in, you know, Western environment, it is totally, you know, I mean, set up, which is anti, you know, practicing of Dharma or anti-practice of religion. Even though West we do have, you know, religion, you know, I understand now why Western religions degenerated, you know, because the orientation of, you know, environment, which is sort of overwhelming, you know, sort of explosion of the dualistic, you know, delusion, you know, and this is the I understand. So therefore, I also not only accepted they are, you know, wanted a center. I told them somehow, you know, it is essential we making correct, you know, environment in order to, you know, sort of, you know, living the confrontation, you know, sort of developing confrontation in terms of awareness, you know, and to training and the readiness to go, you know, such a polluted city, you know.
So did you see then the one of the main purposes of the centers as an actual physical place for of refuge?
That's right, exactly what you say, exactly, because I feel, my own experience, you know, my own taking refuge, I feel each year I need go retreat, strict retreat, you know, and then I can cope my life maybe, you know, you understand, and my blah 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 is useful. And I feel same thing, West student, when they are working such environment in the city, they need each year at least, you know, certain, you know, amount of time space to go exclusive meditation. And that's why I think it's very, very useful. Otherwise, we put so much energy, short period, or 1 month, 2 months. After they go back, their environment completely vanishes. So I think it's not worthwhile. To bring it Dharma West world is something we are continuously development, and it carry, you know, to the generation to generation, not just sort of trip, you know. And I think that's why to establish it, especially community style, living situation, and shared situation, to be exercised, you know, Mahayana, you know, universal concepts into the daily living life. I think that is very, very important, because what is the problem in Western world is we are capitalistic attitude and we are materialistic attitude. So therefore, we are too much, you know, individualistic, you know, selfish attitude, not sharing each other, you know. And this is the, you know, you cannot avoid it. That is the, you know, the foundation built up society. So we need some way to break down such a concept, or of transforming that energy into the something sort of, transcendent, a peaceful, experience.
So then, do you consider that there would be, from the point of view of the members of the community, that there are basically two purposes that are served with the centres? One is that it should be a place, there should be places where communities can develop, but there should also be, from what I understand that you're saying, a place for people from outside to come on a regular basis, as their own time allows, to, shall we say, strengthen their
Yes.
practice for their living outside in the daily world.
That's right, yes.
So we have
Understand,
two divisions.
Yes, two divisions we are sometimes doing so far up to now. And we're seeing some problem too,
Yes.
because when we are involving community living situation at the center, because then we are involving children, husband, wife, lifestyle, and this made sometimes environment is again sort of very much shaking, disorder, and so the people who come outside expecting intensive training and the meditation, and then sometimes they destroy it. So therefore, I think now we have to reconsider maybe community living situation, something separated than the center training people to peaceful environment they should have.
Has this understanding really come out of practical experience of the centres in their dealing with the problems they face when they do have mixed communities and they have people like you described coming from outside expecting discipline and seeing there as a mixed feeling? You feel it's now appropriate to consider more of a division within the communities between lay people and people following the monastic disciplines?
Well, no. People living at the center community, they feel their nature, their nature to have children. I feel also myself. You make community, so there is children, there is husband, there is wife, there's everything. Community means my vision. I mean, of course, my vision, I tell you. Now I talk about practical point of view, then my vision is different, I tell you. Practically, that's happening now. But my project, my vision is community development means sort of universal totality. It means community, in the community, we have space for the monks, the nuns, space for the family, space for children, space for from beginning up to end of human, growth. And this is my, sort of projection. But of course, again, dealing with, materialistic life, in order to make this possible, is involving tremendous, money and energy. You understand? So therefore, we try to beginning utilize energy what we have. So that hopefully, in the future, I can see it develop itself because it is need, seen by the student. I hope in the future we have, everything is, need is fulfilled. Right. Instead of, one place, everything happening, and the result is uneasy, and sometimes confusion too.
So, Lama, do you think then it's for the future development of the centres that the areas of activity of the different centres internally should be very clearly defined? Do you think that needs to happen now, or do you think it's going to develop?
itself.
Like you described, like the if you have a grand vision of the communities fulfilling all purposes,
Yes.
then you have the monastic side,
Yeah,
you
right.
have the family side,
Yeah.
you have the children's side,
Yeah.
and possibly also you have a college or
Yes.
study side.
That's right.
You also
And
possibly have
also sort of
meditation.
artistic, school,
Mm.
and also sort of creation, and the musical, dancing. I feel, I mean, really, the making community is the sort of universal energy. We cannot deny, dancing and the singing is something part of, our nature.
Mm.
So therefore, if really we want to make, some kind of, society, some kind of, really peaceful, and Mahayana society, we have to accept all these things. And what we have right now into the, samsara, everything should have it into this society, as transforming, into the some kind of utilizing in path to liberation. Yeah.
So you don't see, with the proper attitude, any contradiction for a community to celebrate its feeling of togetherness in something such as a party or in dance or
It's all
something
right.
like this.
It's all right. It's part of our life,
Mm.
We have to accept it,
Mm.
Of course, different people, and when you are involved in community, in the community, different people choose again different life. Even though we have completely common universal sense to actualizing Mahayana attitude, isn't it? But still we play, Some walk with touch flower, red flower maybe, some touch white flower, some touch, yellow flower, isn't it? To play. I think that should be acceptable. It's still conventional life. And the most important thing is to have, those things, to interpret it. Red flower interpreted, divine red light, isn't it? You understand what I mean? White flower is interpreted as the pure white light, to purifying, one's negativity and transforming energy into Kundalini blissful energy. Maybe you can say what I mean, So that kind of interpretation we need, and the significant diluted signify, the meaning transforming into the divine, sort of energy.
Now, for that to take place, obviously we need to receive teachings. We need to receive
For sure.
clear instructions from qualified teachers.
Understand?
And one of the great fortunate things that you have been able to provide nearly all the centers with is very, very highly qualified teachers. Would you like to say something, Lama, about, first of all, about the teachers themselves that you have chosen, and how you feel the communities should look to those teachers in their centers?
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel that we are, something involving bigger scope, Therefore, if I'm thinking I can do everything, it's just an ego trip, You understand? I cannot do anything. I cannot do everything, So therefore, I really believe what I choose those teachers, those geishas or gurus, whatever it is, in the center. I really believe, I trust them, to lead my student or my center to benefit, large scale, international levels or universal levels, to bring, Mahayana thought, a universal, attitude. And therefore, my understanding is all students involved there, they should look, as, they are spiritual leaders, isn't it? And they should have good communication, reasonable communication with the spiritual leaders.
What has been the basis of your selection of the teachers for the centers?
Well, I try as much I could, something, those teachers have sort of training and intellectually and psychologically, philosophically, and practically, or most of them, what I choose is also same, disciple of same guru as I do, So I believe they have same, they're better quality, maybe, Some of them is same quality, maybe because we are same kind of race, Some of them better quality than me. So therefore, I think we do have similar, things to offer for the student.
Did you approach them to ask them to go to the centers, or did some of them come to you?
No, really, those the teachers, they really not, some of them not keen, to go in the West, Then I choose what, please go to teach them.
So you really had to put some pressure
Yes.
on them to leave the Tibetan communities in
Yes,
India.
sometimes yes. That's right, yes.
So that really they've been making quite great sacrifice from
Yes,
from their
some
own,
of them, yeah,
from
some
their
of them.
own commitments.
Yeah, some of them also push, they want
Yes.
to go, I don't know what that means too, So what can I say?
Everybody likes a broader experience.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, yeah.
What do you think from the point of view of the teachers' responsibility in the centers, how should the community members look at the teachers for the responsibility of the general program, the general activities of the centers?
Mm-hmm. Well, that things I think is very important to have, broad view, and to have sort of, strong attitude to sharing, the idea between the, our teachers, geshes or lamas or tulgus or whatever, and the directors and the spiritual directors, Western. So I feel without linking, without a strong connection, without making firm, connection, understanding each other, it's very difficult to be useful, making programs, making presentations. So therefore, as I see, it's all important. Everything's so important. You
So
understand what I mean?
communication
Yes.
between the members of the community about their activities and their future projects, planning and so forth, should be really closely
Yes, closely.
closely linked with the teachers themselves.
Yes, yes. If teachers or students, the planning, directors, not communication, I think my understanding is not so good vibration, Then we cannot, give Mahayana thought,
Becomes
I think,
limited.
yes, because it's conflicting, If you conflict, if, for example, you are the director, Brian, you are director of Lama Tzong Khapa Institute. I'm the teacher here. If you and me, something, break down, and I think that is most, disaster, and the root is breakdown. You understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I feel, to bring Dharma West world is something really special, isn't it? Something really you have to, you have to sort of, give up your personality. Some of your personality have to die, isn't it? And then link it some of the, Western, personality, and this way we both are, sort of putting together energy forcefully, and then we become successful.
So I think it's very important then for whoever's involved in a position of responsibility in the community to always, as much as possible, keep the broader aim
Yes.
of the community
Absolutely.
in mind.
Absolutely,
And not to be limited by their, perhaps, individual wishes and things.
I don't think so. Anyway, individualistic is the problem, isn't it? In the world now.
Always.
You understand?
Yes.
So, I don't believe, I don't believe. Even if my student tried to me, sort of says, Lama, you are the my blah, 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 something like that, I think they're rubbish, And there are the, I put it Geshi, who are responsible. They should take teaching from them, you understand? And take advantage and grow into that atmosphere. Don't you think? Very important.
There's been some sort of problems in the past, I think, Lama, when people are not sure in the communities, people are not sure how much the teachers should actually give advice for the development of the community. And what is your feeling about this? Because there has been problems.
I understand something now. I think there's many different development stage. First of all, many teachers come, from India, and really first time they are culture shock. You understand?
Yes.
It's true.
Yes.
And then the presentation of the West Center is something pointing very strange. It's nothing to do with the orientation of Tibetan style. You understand?
Yes.
So maybe they feel what kind of Dharma, You understand?
Yes.
Something maybe disturbed, So therefore, first beginning stage, maybe even it's involving try to give advice. It's supporting very hard. For my opinion is I let go. What I tell from the beginning, say you are responsible to put this center up or down.
To whom?
And I tell those geshes, you are responsible. You put this center brings up or you put down, or you are responsible. I just tell but you, as much you could, you do. And you have spiritually to direct all these people's mind. Plus, if you want the committee meeting, you are the right to have come to committee meeting, isn't it? You are committee, translator both committee, and they are the equally right to say, whatever their contribution to development of the center. So that sometimes Geshe says, I don't want it. Now this is my talk about my experience. Some Geshe says, I don't want to involve in anything with the samsaric involvement. They want only liberation,
Just
Some
teaching.
Geshe, I say, let go. How can you push, Okay, let go. And some Geshes want, to talk and to involve with the community. I'm very happy, Very happy. I think if they have, wisdom and method to make center, growing most beneficial way for as much possible for the human mind, then it's worthwhile to involve. So my style is I give just freedom, option, whatever they want to do.
So then it requires, as I understand from this, that it does require then for the Western students themselves in the different centers, and especially those who are in a position of maybe a director or position of responsibility, that they have also from their side to exercise quite a degree of wisdom in making judgment on whether the geshe is ready to give advice, or whether they are themselves, the people in responsibility, to give the directions.
Yes, absolutely,
So they have to judge.
Absolutely, some extent, yes. Because when they judge, that is a different language again, I mean, they have to, if they, instead of judge, use language, I say, if they do, okay. If they doesn't do, director have to make direct decision. Otherwise, nobody makes decision, place becomes disorder.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And at that time, also, I mean, also Geshe's side, one should not feel, he make decision. If I'm not make decision, somebody make decision, so you make decision, I'm gonna let go. I say I'm happy, If I'm criticized, it's created, again negative, I think.
To what extent, this is on the same subject, to what extent do you think the community members themselves should be involved in the, I don't mean the specific day-to-day running, but in general decisions about the future of the community?
Yes, we do.
Because this has sometimes created problems.
I know. We do have, now I tell you, our system is, we have all total community meeting. And we talk about problem, or good or bad, what is the daily, and what is the future program is right or wrong. We investigate, we talk openly. They can exercise anything, I believe everybody has wisdom. So what happened is, after the discussion from all the people, then the good idea pick up by the committee. Then we sort of, the nuclear, meeting by the committee. And then committee agreed to implement such idea into the daily or coming year. Then decided, then who's responsible every day, make sure it is implementing is the director.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
This is the way it's set up. So therefore, in the way our center is a democracy, everybody has something to say. Whatever best, idea, ology, or whatever spiritual way, or whatever they can do, they can say, they can contribute. So we open.
Do you think then it's really quite important for that in the communities themselves, for there to be quite regular community meetings, and that people are encouraged to participate?
I think good idea.
Because sometimes these community meetings they've just broken down.
Yeah, I think very important, yeah.
And I think, I don't want to express my own opinion, but I think one of the most valuable things is to keep a really good spirit amongst everybody. So there's a feeling always of participation.
I think definitely idea. Is sort of working together, and the hearing together is the very important community. Because the connotation of community means we are common sense working together. You understand? Not the individualistic working. You understand? Even though individuals have time and space, that I want you distinguished. Common sense is the principle. Then the individual have also individual, lifestyle.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, but now, basically, as I can hear from what you're saying, the real concept of the centers is that they are to be communities. Is this correct?
Yes, if we set up community center, yes, but not all centers, our centers happening that way, because some of the center is located in the city.
Yes.
You know, in the city, I mean, different
It's
community again.
Okay,
you know?
we'll talk about that just in a minute.
Yes.
But in the sense that they're communities, they're groups of people together participating in a growing sense of developing the Mahayana Dharma. Sometimes I've felt some centers in the country, they become more like a college or a school, and the community side is pushed away a bit, and this creates conflict from the people living inside. How do you think that problem between it being a college or a community should be balanced? Or do you think they can be together?
They should be balanced. They should be balanced. First of all, I tell you one thing. College is now, characteristic of college, Buddhist college is normally it is involving tremendous intellectual, material. I mean, it is not only, couple of months, it is years involving these things, So then, those people, they have separate sort of, choosing certain, lifestyle. And the community is just living, and daily do meditation, they receive, practical, how to stop it, My opinion is now I tell you, my way of my thinking is community. For the community, they cannot be sort of intellectual trip, because since they are the involving lifestyle, therefore, they should have some kind of, sort of, practical teaching. Practical teaching.
On day-to-day basis.
Day-to-day, how to solve the problem. So my understanding is actually, the spiritual leaders of the center have to have some kind of, sympathetic, to daily individuals, feeling and disturbing it, to find out what is their disturbing, how to solve the problem, how to deal with that problem. I think how to heal that problem. There is something which is almost beyond, intellectual philosophy. I think that
practical.
Is practical, but very touch level. Nothing, say, class, sit down, you, blah, 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 blah. Not like that. Something touch level,
With feeling.
Yes, just being somehow, sort of working specifically, particularly this flower problem.
With sympathy then.
Yeah, with the sympathy, but investigate strictly individual problem. You understand? I think this we great need. Of course, sometimes
need to listen. Yes.
Tibetan, I think Buddhist scholars, teachers, they don't like to deal, individual, personal problem, they're not keen to do that one. I think in this, super samsaric, materialistic, environment, this is the most important need, desperately need. Because the daily, the complication and the symptom is so sensitive, so strong than general normal problem,
Yes, yes.
You understand? So therefore, I feel something, my side, since I try to cure Western, pain and dissatisfied, somehow I have to deal, sort of directly.
Individual.
Even take tremendous energy. It's very worthwhile. If this symptom, personal symptom, is not solved, then all communities sick. This is the different sort of dealing with the Western than East problem.
So do you think this really is Mahayana in practice?
Yes, it is my practice. Yes.
In practice, actually.
Yes, in practice, yes, definitely. So therefore, I feel that community living situation, and we need somebody, teacher, who go beyond the intellectual, and it just sort of psychological understanding the history of that man or woman, and then deal with that situation.
When you say teacher, do you mean either a Westerner who's sometime in the Dharma already, or only a Tibetan teacher?
I don't care who is involved in that center. You understand? Sometimes Western teacher, sometimes East teacher. I think they both have somehow. When you are dealing with the community, you should have some kind of that kind of attitude. Rather, you sitting on the throne, and then blah 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 blah. I don't think so. That is something, they helpful for them.
It's a distance.
Yes, because you are distant thing, and then you not touch, their heart problem.
So do you think it's worthwhile then in the communities, possibly for people to take a more active role in actually individual or small group meetings? Do you think it's...
I think good idea, very good idea, very good idea. At least, once a month, have to have some kind of, healing system each other. I think that's what we need, because sometimes I feel like our centers, people sort of pretending they are sort of busy because they are learning their room, they have the job, they have the learning philosophy. They show always busy aspect, but no in the center. Sometimes there's no personal contact each other. How could be sort of sharing? If you're not contact, sharing. Somehow I have to have some kind of connection.
How do you think then in the centers the teaching situation itself, the formal teaching situation, should develop? In the you have the programs throughout the year, and you have the general teachings given by the lamas from the Geshis from India, from Tibet. How do you think there should be balance between the teaching situation and community work? Do you think this will develop in stages, or do you think there, on a day-to-day basis, there needs to be time for both? So we were talking about the balance between college activities and the community activities, which obviously in the beginning the community activities have to be very big, because we usually have a physical problem on our hands, namely living situation.
Now, there is something not clear, in other words, I think. There's something have to be clear within the community. And also teachers or ministers, everybody should have some clarity. Now, my opinion, Now I'm just giving opinion. Why? If we have clear idea, community means just normal living life. Just do whatever necessary do, isn't it? take care physical, you know, health and cleaning, you know, food, clothes, just normal family life, you know, but same time, you know, mind practicing. That is emphasis. Just have to know, clear. That is their job. And clear, they are not intellectual, should not be intellectual ambitions, you know.
What should not?
Ambition, intellectual, philosophical, you know, ambitions, you know, to learn.
You mean that should not be the aim?
Yeah, there should not be aim
of the people.
Yeah, to be sort of, you know, philosophical, you know,
Right.
sort of, you know, mind, you know. And if you aim this one, then the conflict comes. You know, let's say you are the first. I make an example. You are sort of, you know, family, baby, you know, wife, situation. You are intensively, you know, and sort of involved with your own lifestyle, you know. And then I say, you know, I'm the teacher. I say, you know, the Madhyamika philosophy I teach, you know, why don't you come? You lose your opportunity. Madhyamika the philosophy is so important for your liberation. You understand? Then you say, oh, my Lama says, that's true. And my life is short time. You know, I don't care my wife now. It's true. My wife is secondary. Just transitory, you know, she's transitory, my baby is transitory, you know, conventional. I think I need absolute achievement, so that's true. I give up all these things, you know. I go to Madhyamika philosophy. Madhyamika philosophy, Tibetan system, I mean intellectual system, I talk about it, you know. It took you at least 4 years, Tibetan system, you know. And then you neglected completely, you know, 4 years, your wife and your children. I mean, that's totally wrong. Then, I tell you, then sickness comes. Sickness comes. Symptom comes, you know. If you do that one, you know. I mean, okay, if you can do, I mean, you know, but you cannot do anyway, you know, because you split yourself, you know. You understand? Then too much family problem comes, you know. When the family problem comes, you cannot do anything. You cannot learn anything because you are traveling, you know, and distorted by so many complications, you know, argument, all family. I think your mind is two-way split, you know. Then that's why my opinion is that those our Dharma families, you know, Dharma families, they should do earthly. You know what I mean? You know, earthly develop. They should keep their job. They should make money. They should live comfortably. They give good comfort for their wife and children. Just be normal, you know. Then the, you know, life, of course, you practice at the same time, but not, you know, involving entire life, you know, 24 hours, you know, intellectual field. I really feel there are enormous problems. And then break down, you know, and a marriage couple, they started their problem, you know. So that's what I say. It needs clean, clear, you know, to area, understood everybody, you know. They should not put down, they should not push you to this, you do that, you do that. There's some kind of reasonable, you know, capacity, each area understood, clear. So then there's no conflict.
So in other words, each individual should be very precise in understanding their own responsibilities.
Right, yes.
In the community,
yes.
to themselves,
right,
and to their families or people
exactly, yes.
who they're with.
Exactly, yes.
And then would that determine how much time the individual could then put into the studies
Absolutely.
themselves.
Absolutely, you know.
So that the studies in the college sense, Lama, you feel should come second in
Yes.
the practical sense.
Yes, I think so. Because, see, you know, I mean, it's tremendous involvement, you know, time and space, you know. Therefore, if you cannot afford, you know, push that situation. Yeah.
So it's really a matter of being realistic.
Yes, it's realistic, yes. I think that's my point. Yes, you're right. My point is sometimes in the center, students confused, you know, and they becomes unrealistic, you know. The reason is somebody says this, somebody says this, you know. You understand?
Yes.
And yes, they try to do. And then sometimes they too much relying upon their, you know, Lama or teacher, you know. You understand?
Yes.
I think personally, my opinion is, I think they should not expecting that, you know, all community is sort of, you know, daily, everything is by teachers saying that this, you know. They should not expect that. I don't believe myself, you know.
So that the teacher answers all their questions about everything they do.
Oh, they're wrong, you know. Definitely wrong. Then the result is too much confusion, too much, you know, conflict come, and then it destroy devotion or then destroy everything, isn't it? I really truly believe, you know, to some extent, I can make my own decision. When I come from Tibet, I left Tibet. Nobody tell me you leave Tibet, you know. No one tell me. Everybody says you not go. You understand?
Yes.
But somehow, my intuition, I want to go. I don't want to go where there is no, you know, communist ideological control me, you know, and like to be, rest my life to be monk. You understand? That's the reason I come myself, you know. No one, my teacher told me, you must go get out from Tibet. Isn't it? You understand what I mean?
You use your own intelligence.
Yes, I make my own decision.
Because I think there's a tendency...
That is truthful, I tell you. In other words, I feel truthful. I don't like, I don't like, my guru said they did this, you know. I don't think so, really, you know.
So
Somebody is exactly make you eat, you drink, you know, you make your own life, you know. I think you have to trust your Buddha nature to some extent. You know, of course, you listen advice. You know, your guru told you when he keep teaching. He told you everything. You know, isn't it? Entire universal life he explained. Entire 6 realms of life, isn't it? Entire from beginning renunciation up to enlightenment. Already advanced. You know, so then you know already. Other sense, you know. So why are you asking? You know, daily say blah 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 blah. It's not true.
So the decisions for everyday the situation should be made by ourselves.
Yes.
In the communities.
Yes. Then you avoid confusion. You know?
But then, what areas do you feel the teachers themselves should be limited to in terms of advice?
Well, teachers themselves,
because sometimes the reason I ask,
have to know themselves their own limitation, you know. You understand?
Yes.
So that if they are not clear, you know, difficult to advise. You understand? I don't know New Zealand people's lifestyle, you know. I cannot say to choose Brian, you are a New Zealand boy, therefore you stay in the cave 20 years, you know. It is completely out of, sky, you know. I talk about nonsense, you know.
That's true.
Yes.
So then...
therefore, I'm not telling you, you know.
perhaps I'd like you to tell me, actually.
Yeah.
But, I think I think it would be helpful for people to have an idea on what subjects they should go to the teachers for, in a general sense.
Yes.
You know?
A general case, I think, like the lumbering, practical, absolutely practical. Lumbering is something, my wish, if you want my interpretation. All of our center people, first thing is lumbering. The lumbering answer you everything, all lifestyle problem, Then, after then, sometimes lodging, lodging answer to completely into the lumbering. Then, all practical, practical things, something practical things you could put, directly into the category lumbering daily life. I think this is the essential thing, and this is the need is so much for Western environment and Western people. And by then, I really believe, they become good Buddhists. You understand what I mean? They become good Mahayanists, and by then, everything you tell them, they put it into the, path of the liberation.
Yes. So you think then that the questions that, or the advice that the students in the center should approach the teachers for is advice regarding the lamrim, the practice, how to bring into daily life, or questions about theory,
Oh yes.
questions about paramitas.
No, really. I think my personal is, I tell you, something beautiful Western student come into Dharma. I tell you, something unique. It's completely different than, East people to study Dharma. That part I like, West people who come Dharma, most of them, they fed up, lifestyle. They fed up society system. You understand? They fed up, the materialistic life, And they pull up, conflict, into the society. That's the reason they come for Dharma. You understand? And they fed up with, politics, game.
So already there's some of those.
Yes, I truly believe there are the truly readiness, quality. And so, that kind of student truly seeking something, boiling water to put something ice.
Yes.
And this is the, I think, what can make ice into the water is the lumbering. Making, understanding their own conflict situation of their own life, and how you cope, how you look at into the problem, how to solve this problem. It is directly talking about them, And then there is no argument. When you talk philosophy, they say, no, you are wrong. You understand? You talk about this philosophy, East philosophy, it's a banana, We have the philosophy, we said this way, you said this way, you are wrong. They're going to argument. But when we talk about strictly their own problem, their own conflict, and how to deal with that problem, how can they deny? They cannot deny. And they surprise also, what this man know my problem, You understand? Not that this man know, because this man started with the psychologist, So that reason, so something we have to offer with the people. Yeah. And I really, my, experience, I'm not trying to talk, sophisticated Buddhist philosophy to the Western mind. I don't care, You understand? Because, that's not helping for them. What I try to do is the essential aspect of Buddhism, which subject is old, over 2,000, more than 2,500 years. But I put sort of new, sort of color, new clothes, You know what I mean, And somehow link it, with their own, culture. And this is the way, no way they out.
So we are to try to practice Buddhism, and if it becomes Western Buddhism,
Yes. I think that's all. I really truly believe, Buddhism should be something Western people's mind, Western thing, Western mind, Western spirits, Western consciousness. And I'm not emphasizing anything, Tibetan culture aspect, rituals, Dharma, cake, these things. I don't believe anyway, first of all, You understand? Buddhist time, there's no cake making as Tibetan style. You understand? Tibetan style is same thing as Western do. Western, there is food, fruit, and whatever you eat, what do you offer that one? I think that is the right thing. And sometimes I wonder also that too much emphasis for the rituals, not emphasis on the internal ritual of meditation. You understand? That is, I think, again, something you lose, the principle and, emphasis on the secondary, things. And therefore, I really, truly say, was the student should not try to copy exactly ritual, the superficial color Tibetan to bring in the West, they try to bring the essence of Buddhism, essence of the Dharma, essence of Sangha, into West environment. What I'm saying is that the Dharma, Buddha Dharma bring West world is we have to bring the essential and the nuclear part of Buddha Dharma, and not, should not emphasize to bring Dharma as a ritual. A ritual is something sort of specific, archetype of Tibetan. And I remember His Holiness Dalai Lama recently, his lecture, he says some of the Tibetan, rituals, they sort of, compromise, as Tibetan culture. Or in other words, he said it's something manipulated, the idea of Buddhism into the society, play game. I think, I hope I'm not mistaken, I remember, So not exactly words, but I hope essence catch. So therefore, I think, it is very important. One should decide it, I think one should make a decision, to make decision that I'm not want something copy of Tibetan culture. I just want, I'm a Westerner, I live as Westerner, but Buddha Dharma is no doubt for my path to liberation. So that essence I take. For instance, my early meeting with Westerners, also I try to experiment everything, a sort of more scientific level. And I try to emphasize they wear exactly Tibetan copy, they to wear robes, and you know what I mean? Retreat style is we make dharmas and rituals, and dorji and bell, and I try to emphasize, But now my scientific experience with Western people, somehow my observation, with my patients, and it changes. because when I'm involved with these people, for example, I went to with the Western monk, I went into the city, Western city. Some of the Western society people make spirit like this, on my monk, You understand? They do like that, I'm not blaming both, I'm not blaming two. I understand, And I have, sort of inside my heart, sort of somehow emotionally, compassion for my monk, Western monk. He's good man, He tried to live, honest life. He tried to renounce his, worldly pleasure. He tried to do his best. And he's a good man, But only his behavior, cutting, having bald head, and wearing, the monk robe, making him, become kaka, in West, city, I thought it's not fair, such, wonderful human being, you understand? And to put situation, as a garbage bag, split, object, I thought it's so incredible. I'm not fair. I thought I'm not fair. I told them, you wear this robe, and they listened to me. I thought I'm stupid, I shouldn't, Paul. And also, not only, only my own experience. The Buddha himself said, the Vinaya rule, the time and the space, time changed, and then changed the Vinaya rule according the measure of element of people's mind. We have clear explanation, and therefore, I sort of discussed in the West, student, publicly, how you felt, I didn't say my experience, how you feel West monk, Western people wear Tibetan style, robe, when I was giving course in Amsterdam, in Holland, most people says no good, Buddhism is the democracy. Buddhism is for the people. So most people say, you shouldn't wear. Then that is the evidence. We shouldn't wear. Also, good example. Buddhism went from the India to China, to Korea, to Tibet, to Japan, to many countries. Everybody wear different robe. You understand? That means they did accordingly its own environment, element of its own population's mind. Therefore, I think my opinion is Western people should develop their own culture, heritage of somehow archetype, behavior of Buddhist monk and nun. Yeah.
Brings me to a good subject, Lama, and that is the how do you feel the monks and nuns in the communities should be should live within the communities if the communities are mixed communities?
Yeah, I understand. Well, I think it is easier if there are separate living situations, because environment itself is supporting what their philosophy, what their psychology, what their ethics. You understand? And it is very essential to have separate environment. I agree. But first beginning, we are the new society, and to have nunnery, separate nunnery, the monk, is tremendous. It's involving $100,000 worth energy. And I think we have to accept according our resource, So that it took me time, many years, and now, we are lucky at France. We established Nalanda Monastery, so the monk can go there, and I can see that many difficult, monk nuns having such a responsibility, and ethics according to Vinaya rule, and they have to live as exactly in the Western sort of lay people's environment. It is very difficult. I couldn't, you know.
So you think the long-term view for people in the communities considering the future of the monastic community and how to keep it strong should be they should look to ways of keeping or developing the monks and nuns separately so they have their own environment.
Right.
Yes?
Definitely, yes.
Mm.
Absolutely. Even though we are whole, entire universal community, you know, but they should have their own space, you know. You understand what I mean? You know? At the same time, they come into the, you know, universal community. You know? I think so, yes. And then they become strong.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
First you have to exist in yourself, you know, in order to, you know, benefit yourself effectively to others.
This was actually the reason the Buddha established the Sangha in the first place, wasn't
That's
it?
right, exactly, yeah, that's right, yes. That's right, yes.
So they could be the strong holders of the tradition, the pure
exactly,
tradition.
yes. That's right, yes. I really hope, you know, in the future that the Nalanda monastery is, you know, sort of nuclear, you know, to bring, to preserve.
Lama, this brings me to a good point, and that is the relationship of the lay community to the monastic community, and in a very real sense, the responsibility of one to the other. How do you see those responsibilities in the broad sense of the lay community to the monastic community and opposite, vice versa?
Well, you mean relationship between the lay community and the monk community, nuns community? Well, first of all, we all link it, you know, one community, and we should understood that way, first of all, you know. And the secondly, we have to support each other, you know. Whatever we have, you know, spiritually and materially, we share each other. And that kind of attitude we should have. You understand? So, you know, the sense, you know, what I'm saying, the sense that lay people should feel that monk and nuns, they choose their life, is so worthwhile. Their need, you know, and their need helps for me, even though I'm lay people. You understand what I mean? At the same time, monk nuns should feel that, you know, that the lay people also, they need that kind of, you know, lifestyle, that kind of environment for them. You understand? And that is the right thing for them. You understand? So therefore, sort of acceptable, instead of put down. You understand? So mutually respect each other. You know, by understanding each people need individual growth. You know, individual, you know, sort of phenomenon to exercise relatively. I mean, absolutely, you know. Of course, you cannot judge, you know, like Dom Tomba, like Milarepa, you know. I mean, they are much better than common sense monk, none. You understand? So therefore, I mean, relatively, you know, we are working sort of, you know, individual need level, and therefore should accept each other and support each other anyway, ideologically or materially or whatever it is. You know.
How do you think, talking about support in a general sense, how do you think the support of the communities should develop? How should the communities become self-sufficient?
Well, I think, you know, I mean, my understanding, I'm sure I don't understand exactly, what it means. But my gross understanding, I tell you, I feel any community in the world, you understand, one should live, it is sufficient, according to their own environment, economy standard.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, our community also should work, to some extent, in order to support themselves and the community and to benefit, for others too.
Do you think the communities should support themselves by the courses, for example? Do you think that should be one of the ways they should support themselves?
No, I disagree. No way. No way, I think, our experience, I mean, there's no historical that the community supported by the giving Dharma for others. There's no historical, You understand? No possible, I think, especially this, materialistic country and without working themselves, You understand? Therefore, I think community have to work as same thing as society style and to support themselves and live comfortable, and that there is extra energy there, you contribute for the community development. Therefore, I feel individuals are also responsible to be healthy themselves. Then community become okay.
Strong.
Yes.
I think there's sometimes a problem in the communities where people become sponsored by the community.
That's right.
And slowly, the motivation becomes weaker because, to some extent, they begin to lose enthusiasm for what they're doing, and the energy becomes weaker.
Yeah.
How do you think that problem can be
well,
fixed?
that I tell you something, Some of the centers, they try to sponsor, students for the administrating, for the facilitating the center. And I'm sure, as you say, this situation, some people have some problem. However, now there is stage to development, center. I don't think so, really, any center of our center, our center, is ready to really sponsor, about 20, 30 people. I feel it's not realistic, honestly, because we are, building something constructed, and we have so much, to fix the, facility. You understand? And at the same time, we are sponsoring these things. I think it's just maybe dreaming. I mean, this is my interpretation. Excuse me, I don't know should do or shouldn't do. I feel we are development stage. We are beginner. So therefore, how can you afford, to sponsor, 30 people? You understand? We are not, Dharma is we're not making commercial, You understand? We are not making business, So try to sponsor, 30, 40 people, from the income of, I think very difficult. Very difficult, I think, my opinion. Therefore, I think somehow the concerning community, we should have, set up workshop on some reason income in order to lead their situation. I think creativity, and making creativity, job, I think essential thing.
So you think it's
in order to exist in stable. If you don't want, stable community, you understand? It's like butterfly, you know. You understand?
Always coming, going.
Right, coming, going.
Mm.
Then I think no good anymore.
So your real vision of the communities should be more stable in
Yes.
terms of the
More
people
stable.
that are living
Exactly.
in the communities. They should look at the time they're living in the communities with a long-range vision.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
That's my feeling.
Mm.
That's my understanding, you know.
And to do that,
Yes.
they then should be encouraged to develop some professional skill or business,
Yes.
something that's going to allow them to support themselves.
I agree that, you know.
while they're
I
there.
told, you know, all the center people that the director is well, I say, you know, because I don't have any other things, other people to say.
Mm.
I say, director is not easy job. What is the director job? Director is the keeping community together, you know, by spiritually, you know, to facilitate, you know what I mean, you know, to make sure they get, you know, what they need, you know, spiritually take care of, and materially, some extent they take care of. By not the giving, you know, like this, you know, we don't have, by utilizing the skill, you know, by facilitating skill, you understand what I mean, you know, directing those people how to do, which way to do, which way to, you know, standing their life. Because I believe, you know, all those people who come in institute, you know, community, they are so intelligent, actually, you know, intelligent, and they may be lazy, you know, and that has to be sort of skillfully, you know, making psychologists, you know, have to be, you know, shaped, you know, to make shape, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Therefore, job creation, I think, is very important.
At this stage and in the future?
Yes, all the time. Because people come there with a lot of problems, anxiety and uncooped society, and they want some coop situation, and at the same time they live life. So that we are making these people better life, you know, isn't it? So therefore, we take responsible. If you cannot take responsible creativity, you know, and sort of growth, I think you should not accept, you know, to be community people.
Yes.
I think we mistake, you know, we cheating people. You understand what I mean? You know?
So you think there should be more, shall we say, discrimination?
I think so, yeah.
In terms of allowing people to join the communities who
The sense
are
to
not
can
going to
grow.
be able to support themselves in the sense of either one of two things, obviously. Either they have the fortune to have some financial backing
Yes,
on their own side,
right.
or they have a skill that they can bring into the community, creative
Right.
skill that they can, in the community, develop and continue to be self-sufficient.
Right.
You think
Or
it's
somehow, you know, potentially, you know, we can training him, you know, maybe he know
Oh,
nothing,
yes,
you know.
yes.
We can training them how to make wood, you know, you know, something, you know, wood part, you know. You understand what I mean, you know, or candle standard, you know.
Right, right.
And then he can support himself. You know? So many times the people, you know, they don't know they can support themselves, but they have so much, you know, potential.
Yes.
They can make Buddha themselves, you know. Or they can make, you know, business. You understand what I mean, you know?
Yes,
Yeah, they can play with wood, they can play with earth, they can make clay, you know. For example, excuse me, Manjushri Institute, we have also, you know, the clay making, you know, the
pottery.
equipment, pottery equipment. I mean, pottery is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
In England, one kind of, you know, small porcelain,
Pot.
sort of, you know, you have to pay about, you know, 3, 4, 5 pounds, you know.
Yes.
So it's worthwhile. You know? If one cannot make that one, what kind of people, you know? What kind of human being? Then better to resolve, you know.
Lama, what relationship then, if somebody is in the community, this is quite important, I think,
Yes.
because I see the long-term success of the communities depending upon this self-sufficiency of the individuals.
Yeah.
What relationship should a business in the community have to the community itself?
Excuse me, I'm not clear.
In what, how, for example, if somebody...
How to make, you mean?
How, if somebody establishes a business and they're living and working in the community, who owns the business?
Yes, I understand.
In simple language.
Okay, that can be done such way.
Because there
Yes,
has to be some incentive.
That's scientifically researched. That should be scientifically researched. Is important, not the ideological. My opinion is scientific research is, let's say, pottery, you know. If Manjushri, let's say I'm the student, Manjushri Institute set up for me pottery, you know, equipment, everything. How much, you know, house, set up that equipment, how much money involved, scientifically, isn't it? Then I'm making that one, you know, and how much product I produce. You understand? So I say that two ways to do. I say, this is my job, my living, whatever scientifically cause, you understand, to live this community, you understand, I pay my work. Beyond that, the extra left over is I keep my pocket, my freedom. If I say, fine, then what is my obligation is I have to pay rent, this place, isn't it? Reasonable, you know. But this goes into the community, you know. You understand what I mean? This renting and equipment, everything is I paying for the community to develop it, you know. So the business is straight, clear. So I paying whatever is, you know, is necessary for my food, my living, and my things. And if I make more skill, then belongs to what, you know, my freedom. You know, I give community, or I give my friend, or I give my children, or I give Buddha, or you know what I mean, you know, or I give third world. It's my freedom. So I tell you, beginning, if one started that kind of business, the director has have sense enough to make completely clear. Beginning. So the latter, there's no, you know, sort of, you know, complex and the public. Am I speaking sort of,
yes,
you know?
Yes.
I think
so in other words,
you know.
When somebody is approaching the establishing of a business, they should just look at it in a traditional business-like way.
Exactly.
You have a facility, you're going to use the
It's
facility,
normal, you know.
you pay a rent on the facility,
Exactly.
You take responsibility, obviously, for the materials or something.
Absolutely,
you
yes.
pay for those, you produce
Exactly.
a product,
Exactly.
you make profit.
Exactly.
From the profit you give
Normal.
for your rent.
Agree.
Ta-ta.
Yeah,
Like
that's why, you know,
Mm.
exactly.
Mm.
It's normal, you know. We are normal, you know. Even though we are, you know, become Buddhist, you know, we still buy bread, butter, you know. You understand? You renounce life. You know, you still eat bread, butter, you know. You understand? You cannot renounce, you know, not to eat, you know, the sense of, you know, bread, butter. then you lead to death, you know. So therefore, I think, you know, that's very important thing. Even though we are, you know, Buddhist, you know, and it's supposed to be renounced, everybody, you know. And however, you know, we have to live, you know, normal life, you know. You know, selling by is something normal, you know. In West world, if you're not selling by, you're not existent anyway. You know, that is the entire universal modern world, modern law. Universal modern law is you have money, you can go, you can walk. You have no money, you cannot breathing, you cannot walk.
There seems to be that's right.
Unfortunately, you know what can I say?
This is practical realities.
So, yes, you know, that's why, you know, so difficult. I don't think so it's difficult, you know. I mean, no, I have, you know, positive sides too. Because West is somehow, we are orientation of materialistic life. And this also has advantage. You can support easily, amazingly, you know. You understand? in third world, to make money, to make living is so difficult. Here seems, very easy. That's why people become most times crazy, because they don't have anything to worry about the food and the clothes. They only think about the miserable of fantasy. So that is their problem.
Yeah, this is the opposite problem.
Yeah, opposite problem. Yes, exactly. That's I say. West the problem is different. Third world people's problem, and here different problem.
But we can certainly take advantage of what value we have in the West for the development of the centers.
Definitely, I really feel, some extent, the nuclear of Buddha Dharma, Western people better understand, and then a third world country, because third world country is too much occupied, by the material, conflict, you understand, not having enough. But here is too much enough. So therefore, you had everything. You had everything, So what you gain, you discover, those material gain is gaining nothing. What you have, What you don't have, say, they mean nothing. They don't believe, There are something, isn't it? So I think for that reason, Western people is hungry Dharma. By reading this, not the intellectual, feel.
Lama, could we talk just briefly about your concept of the city centers? We've spoken now, I think, generally about the larger communities and their overall situation. But as we've seen, so many of us in the West, we're from cities, and we're living in cities, and this is a very intense environment, and you now have many centres that are in the cities. We're fortunate in London to have very good geshe in one.
Yes.
Many cities they have. How do you think those centres should develop?
Well, first of all, city center should be, different than the country's, communities center.
What purpose?
Pardon?
What purpose?
Purpose is, of course, to developing, oneself, and to bring peace oneself, others. But what I'm saying is this way: different is orientation. It should be different, Why? First of all, city center should be somehow strong emphasis, strong meditation. My opinion.
Strong meditation.
Yes, emphasis on the strong meditation. Not too much involving sort of, ritual, prayers, because the city situation is so strong. You understand? This, ritual, these things are not enough power, to the sensitive, delusion to come down. Therefore, you need strong meditation, short time to shortcut. Because city people, they don't have time. You know what I mean? They don't have time, space, So therefore, should be something clean cut through short time. And therefore, I think, in my opinion, it should be something, silent meditation, and should be more emphasis. And I feel city center should be facilitated 24 hours, just open. Anyone who come, just sit there, meditate.
How big do you think a city centre should be, realistically?
Well, that depends how developed, you know. I mean, this time, practically speaking, maybe this much. Temple is this much enough. You know, this much. Something feed 100 people, you know. And then any time, for example, I'm walking somewhere near the center, you know, I'm walking, and my lunch time, I finish my job, and I shortcut, I drink coffee, I come down here, I just relax, meditate. Then I go there. Anytime access, my opinion, access to come, take refuge, you know, take quality peaceful, should make temple, you know what I mean, Gomba, you know, something soundful, very peaceful. Just being Gomba sort of bliss out, you know. One should make that environment. And then the emphasis on the meditation. Yes.
During the week program,
yes,
for instance.
That's right. Not too much intellectual training. Because there's no time. Then another thing, I expressed it many times to the, you know, city center directors, that they should make some kind of, you know, sort of meeting, you know, a meeting, you know, coming, you sort of, you know, party, you understand what I mean, you know, a tea party or dinner party or somehow to be gathering, you know, and, you know, large way, Dharma orientation, just relax, you know, somehow, Dharma brothers used to come together and share, you know, we are sometimes we drinking, we eating, but share Dharma experience, you know. And maybe sometimes we dancing, you know. We are dancing, you know. Dharma gurus, we dancing, short meditation, maybe 10 minutes we meditate, you know, then we dance. I mean, you know what I mean, you know. And then I can sit down, talk, relax, drink, you know, and maybe before we sleep, again meditation, you know, couple minutes, and dedicate, good night, sleep. You know.
It's a very good idea.
I think it is important that, you know, in Western environment, cities, people close each other totally. I don't know my neighbor who is, who isn't, you know. And this, you know, sort of, you know, the hard, you know, life should be break down by bringing together, you understand, human touch each other. You understand? The sense, common goal, common sense. And this is the way we can stimulate Dharma in the Western, you know, city. Because, you know, because it's not true. Businessman who can, you know, meditate, deep meditation, he cannot do. But he lonely. He desperately need relaxation. So you giving your friend who are businessmen and the opportunity way to relax inside himself and satisfy, you know, in a relaxation by doing dancing or by singing, or you understand what I mean, no? And by you know, I don't know, by participating, you know, somehow manipulate his mind, you know, transforming into the, you know, quality peaceful. I think that will have to be developed. My opinion is, and that is I call that worldly environment, you know, five sense secondary, you know, the object, into the, you know, Dharma, into the path to liberation. That should be developed. I think way to bring Dharma Western world is one should have skill, you know, many different ways to make Dharma. You know, one should not have fixed an idea. You know, that is very important, I think.
Flexibility is a key.
Yes, yes, flexibility. Otherwise, you can never make any Dharma at all, because you are caught with the, you know. Otherwise, you are advantage of the culture of the, you know, Dharma. You understand? You are not relating situation Dharma. Dharma should be related when you're eating, when you're drinking, when you're walking, when you are dancing, when you are, sleeping, when you understand. There's something there, that is the, Buddhist skill. Every situation, it can be taken, oriented Dharma situation.
This is true for both city centers and country centers and monastic
I think so,
centers.
yes. I think so. We should do that kind of thing. Yes. And I think also, it's good things, Dharma centers are related with, many artists, people who created, some kind of, psychological reality. And they should be related, also musicians, Musicians, they have, somehow powerful, sort of, method to manipulate any reality into any kind of, form of sound, isn't it? So we are involving transformation involving every energy into the, sort of, positive way. We should bring that kind of thing. We should bring the singing, singing is, sort of express the universal law. Singing is express the equilibrium. Singing is express, bodhicitta. Singing is express the universal reality of non-duality. Then what, Then what is the problem, What is the problem to dance, Huh? If somebody can make, singing non-duality feeling, express sunyata singing, huh?
It's a path.
Yes, I think one should make gradual path to enlightenment, the entire lumbering of entire, Tantra beginning up to end into the singing.
Should make a rock and roll.
And dancing, I think it's perfect. That is a perfect way we're transforming Western culture into the, positive.
It's incredible.
I think so.
Yes. So that means really, with wisdom, with skill, and with understanding, everything that is positive can be taken.
I make one example. Yes,
the,
I make one example. That's right. That's right. I make one example. When we do, Lama Choba, Tara Puja or this thing, I think, my opinion is, you can use Western instrument for the singing, for the sound offering. Yes, I think so, Definitely. Maybe change some kind of, another expression, You know what I mean, I think we use, what, why not, Why not? In Tibetan, any good making sound they used one time. You understand? Lama Choba Puja, sometimes they use this symbols, and this one also used. I saw sometimes they use this one.
Small bells.
Yeah, small bell you can use too.
Yes.
There is some kind of logical for me, Any good sound you can offer. Isn't it?
So anything which actually encourages
yes,
a joyous energy
exactly
for the offering
right.
should be brought in.
Absolutely, yes. That's all.
Lama, I think we have to finish here. I'm sorry.
Really?
Is that right? Or is it still happening?
All right, we are over now. Yeah. Are you, Brian, are you satisfied now?
Yes.
Really? Is there more questions you have?
No.
Really?
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Really.
My pleasure.
There's questions.
Thank you so much.
Your answers were just
thank you so much.
really wonderful.
No, thank you so much. Okay, yeah.